Hello, welcome to Doobies with Doug. Putting up clouds as usual. Rain finally took a break. Brain finally took a break. One of the two. No, the rain finally took a break. And what is that? A piece of dust on the lens? Yep, that's what it was. Now the whole thing I want. I don't know how to fix it. Um, yeah, the rain finally took a break. It rained all most of the day yesterday, half a day today. As you can see, still a little cool, a little windy. Every now and then there's a little spit of rain blows through. I just took a video on my walk that I'll rather attach to the end of this one or post separately. Probably post it separately. It really shows the squalls out in the ocean blowing this way and that way. It's pretty cool. You see where it's raining in one spot and it's just the sun shining down, beating on the ocean in another. It's like living in a fucking postcard. In fact, when I go to the Safeway here, there's postcards that pictures were taken 80 feet from my house. It's fucking insane, man. Almost, I don't remember. I think in August it'll be 4 years I've been here. And to this day, I'll be walking and just look up and go, where am I? Whoa. It's just fucking awesome, man. I'm still waiting on my camera, hoping the guy wasn't just giving me lip service because he owes me. I'm supposed to have a good camera coming. I'll start doing more wildlife photography once I do. You can't get shit with these cell phone cameras unless you spend a bunch of fucking money. And it's been a very long time since I've been in possession of a bunch of fucking money. Has anybody besides me noticed the dialing back of the Ukraine narrative in the last 3 days? The overrunning it with Roe versus Wade bullshit. The overrunning it with. It's just slowly shrinking because it served its purpose. Another 6 months, you won't know what's happening in Ukraine. It'll be off your radar if you have it on there now. And if you don't believe me, tell me what happened in Dagestan 10 years ago. Tell me what happened in Armenia. Tell me what happened in East Timor. Where did the FARC rebels get their money? Who formulated the Taliban? If the only time you care about evil being done in the world is when the media tells you to, how shall I put this so you can understand it? Meh, meh, meh. Get it? Doesn't matter which side of their narrative you fall into. If you fall into their narrative, in the immortal words of Chong, because I didn't step in it, man. Or was it Cheech? It's like, man, I'm glad I didn't step in it. One of the two. It's all shit. Either way. The entire official narrative is shit, no matter how many heartstrings it hits. No matter how many fucking talking points that are in your brain they're discussing it on their terms. Their terms are based on plausible deniability. They're never going to say or commit to anything that they can be held accountable for, ever. That's why the Popo are in so much trouble right now. Because it's impossible for them to do their job when citizens demand specific answers. Because their job is to enforce the law. And in law, there are specific answers to specific questions. In politics, this is not true. No politician has ever answered a question. Don't get me wrong, they've given an answer. They've spoken in response to. Look through history. Show me one example where a politician has actually answered a real fucking question. Ask yourself these questions. Of all of the people in my lifetime that I've voted for president, how many of them's voting records have I read? And how many of the bills that they voted on have I read even the synopsis of? How many governors of your state have you familiarized yourself with in any way, shape, or form before you voted or didn't vote for them? How much research have you done into their financial background and where their money comes from? Ask yourself those questions. You're not incompetent. Even if you're illiterate, Siri speaks now. You can talk to the computer. You don't even need to be able to read and write to find this shit out. I'm a militant anti-theist. There has not been one person ever who's run for federal office that I would support, that I'm aware of. My rule number one, before I will support anybody for anything, for hall monitor, is do they have a magic friend in the sky that watches them masturbate? I think, are you in a fucking cult? Is a completely reasonable question to ask somebody that's supposed to represent you. Look up the word cult in the dictionary. Now write your own definition of what Christianity is. Write your own definition of what religion is. Write it down. What you think religion is. The parameters. Write down the parameters. Then read the definition of cult. Then read what you wrote down. And do it again and repeat until you realize that religion and cult are the same thing. A cult is asking you to accept a truth without evidence and change your behavior according to that truth. Empty promises that can't be upheld. That's a religion. A bunch of nonsense somebody made up. And might I point out, those people made it up and then said, believe this or we'll kill you, to the whole planet. You're in a bad position. It's the Inquisition. Thanks, Mel. So it's a cult. There's not one politician that's ever ran for office that's, to my awareness, not in a cult. And that, to me, is the biggest problem that we have on the planet in general, is everybody's in a fucking cult. And they're all fucking fighting over whose cult is better. And it doesn't matter if that cult's Christianity, or if it's Americanism, or if it's Saudi Arabianism, or if it's... It doesn't matter, it's a cult. There's no difference between me and a stoner sitting in a camper on the coast of fucking Costa Rica, or Finland, or Germany, or Russia. The things that bind us together are humans, as humans, are so much more basic and fundamental than any nationality or change in pigment in the skin could ever even fucking begin to define. You and a Russian soldier fighting in Ukraine have more in common than you and Putin, or you and Biden, or you and anybody in power. Will Smith is no more talented or special or gifted or anything else than any one of the thousands of comedians. He just happens to be the tool that the industry used to get its money. And that's it. Jimi Hendrix was far from the best psychedelic guitar player of his era. He's just the one the industry used to get their money. Not that I don't love Jimmy, I'm just saying. There's always going to be a difference between the official narrative and the media narrative and reality. And it's very literally what Orwell was talking about. It's group speak. Oh, for the last fucking 5 years, man, 10 years, I don't know how long, but it seems like 100 years. And Trump, Biden, Trump, Benghazi, Bill Clinton, Trump, blah, 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 Mitch McConnell, blah, blah, fuck off. It's all horseshit. It's all dog and pony fucking flea circus. Don't matter. What the clowns in the wigs say has never mattered. It just becomes official record. That's all. We the people hold these truths to be self-evident. In order to form a more perfect nation, all men are created equal. The men who wrote those words owned slaves. When people say make America great again, my question is, when was it great? When was America great for all of its citizens? When? The closest we've ever come was when we had a strong working middle class. And I would hardly call that great, because that was also during the era and a result of massive racism, systemic evil. Okay, that middle class wasn't available to a large portion of the people here. We've never been great. We've been powerful. We've been violent. We've been forceful. We've invaded. I mean, that's how we got here. And then we invaded and invaded and invaded until we owned the whole continent. So what's your fucking definition of great? Because Americans refuse to stand up and control their government in any real fashion, the government is free to do whatever the fuck it wants. And what the government wants is an economy. Government is understood since before we were fucking founded that the most vital tool to stimulate their economy that they have, their picture, is war. And that's why America has been at war for 78% of its existence, 236 years or something. 220, I don't remember. Over 200 years of our existence, we've been at war with somebody. You stop and think about the reality of what we do with our energy. If we spend as much money on food, medicine, books, teachers, housing, as we did bombs, bullets, guns, tanks, etc., the entire world would be lifted out of poverty in a couple of years. The entire planet. Just on our military budget, we could raise the entire planet out of poverty. No more hunger, no more starvation. We could all but stamp out malaria, all but stamp out homelessness. Just with the budget of our military. And mind you, the lion's share of that budget is going to defense contractors. And it doesn't matter if some defense contractors are Boeing or Pizza Hut or fucking laundry service or Blackwater or whatever they call themselves now, or they're going to private contractors. And those private contractors are giving the lion's share of that government money to their CEOs. What doesn't go back into lobbying Congress? It's ridiculous. Read your history, not the official narrative. Learn the history. Okay, back in the 70s, the Russian KGB or Soviet KGB, whatever you want to call it, had operations going in Pakistan and Afghanistan, growing and exporting heroin and using it to fund secret ops all over the world, much like the CIA does and did while it was in Afghanistan. And a faction of religious extremists got together and started fighting the opium farmers and burning down farms and attacking the farmers and killing them. And they were Muslim extremists who were set to rid Afghanistan and Pakistan of opium. It was their thing. They were called the Mujahideen. In order to be out of fear, because the Afghan government asked Russia to help with this, Russia was intervening and fighting these religious extremists alongside the Afghan army. Out of fear that Russia was going to control that part of the country, or that part of the geography, and out of strategic whatever at the fucking Pentagon, We sent millions and 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 millions of dollars worth of arms, ammunition, trainers, training, imported trainers from around the world to come and train the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. And we passed that shit off as drug war legislation. We're helping to eradicate the drug war. We're helping to fight the drug war. That's what we passed it off to our Congress. That's why we sent that money into fucking Afghanistan. One of the people that we funded and trained and sent to Afghanistan to train the Mujahideen was a young man named Osama bin Laden. Sound familiar? Okay. We also rounded up all of the orphans in Afghanistan, went to all the orphanages and took all the orphans out and took them to Pakistan. And we put them in orphanages that were attached to mosques. And we appointed mullahs in those mosques that were right wing Sharia law Muslims and trained the children of the Mujahideen purposefully in right wing Sharia law extremism. We paid for that with our dollars to be done. We passed it off all as nicey fluffy fluff in Congress. Those kids came back to Afghanistan when they grow up. You know what they call themselves? Daesh Talib, known to Americans as Taliban. We trained them. We raised them in this shit. We made sure. Remind me again why we invaded Afghanistan. What did Afghanistan have to do with anything that had anything to do with us? What? First that goes Iraq. What did Iraq do that had anything to do with us? Our World Trade Center gets bombed. None of the fucking people that bombed it are from Iraq or Afghanistan. And those are the countries we invade. Again, forgetting that Saddam Hussein was put in power by the United States as a counter to the Ayatollah Khomeini under Carter. Reagan, one of the two. Reagan, I think. We created the problem in Iraq. And then, even though their problem wasn't our problem, all the hijackers that fucking bombed the building, most of them came from Saudi Arabia, some of them came from Lebanon. But somehow that leads to us invading first Iraq, which the Iran-Contra affair proved that we were funding and arming both sides of the Iran-Iraq war. So we created that fuckhole mess. And then when some Saudi Arabians and some Lebanese attack us, we go back and attack Iraq. And you're going to have to find somebody besides George Bush to explain this to me because I don't fucking understand. Weapons of mass destruction or not, the fuck has it got to do with the Twin Towers? Jack fucking squad diddly. And of course, to accept all of that, you need to accept the fact that two of the most well-engineered buildings in the entire fucking world burned to the fucking ground and got so hot that the steel melted and they did a perfect collapse. And somehow all 9 passports survived. Okay. Check is in the mail, yo. And this shit's been going on forever. It's just a fucking cycle of bullshit. If you think that the internet and the motherfucking news and all this shit isn't just fucking chock full of government approved group speak propaganda, it's too late. If you can't see it for what it is, you need to turn this shit off and go fucking stick your head in the ocean, your dirt in the fucking toes in the dirt, and get some worms on you and shit, man. Something's gone wrong. You've fallen asleep. It doesn't matter what a fancy fucking name on it is. Pepsi product is a Pepsi product. As funny as Dave Chappelle is, I'm not looking for him for clues on how the world works. I'm not looking at him as a moral compass. I'm not looking at him as somebody whose political or sociological views I value. I'm looking at him as a fucking comic, because that's what he is. And that's what he's showing me when he's on the camera. Now, if him and I were to sit down and have a different conversation about reality and life, I might have a different viewpoint of him. But that's never happened. So half of the reason people are getting mad at him is because they're looking to him for the wrong things. It's a lot like getting mad at the cornerback for not kicking the ball right. But anyway, I'm fucking ripped. And I'm waiting on a refill for my weed jar because it's empty and I hate that. Yeah, this has been Doobies with Doug. Pay attention, folks. Don't get sucked into the bullshit. Just watch Doobies with Doug instead. He'll tell you what the fuck is up.